Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast, that is the Away Gunners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world. On this episode of the Away Gunners podcast, we round up Ellen, Bob, Arun, and myself to talk about the EFL game reaction, the game between Arsenal and Leicester, where Arsenal won 2-0, with a lot of focus on Saka, Nelson, and Pepe. When we get reminded by Ellen that we have a treble winner with us in our group, Eddie and Katia, and the whole gang discusses his possibilities of being a striker at Arsenal Football Club in future. Followed by a heavy dosage of Ozil bashing by Ellen and Bob during our discussion on our once record signing. And how could we end the pod without some transfer talk about Arsenal? So we hear from Bob about Partey and the finances of Athletico Madrid in this transfer window. Oh yeah, and we also discuss about the upcoming game of Arsenal Football Club versus Liverpool at Anfield, and the lads give their prediction on the game. Hi everyone, welcome to the another version of the Away Gunner podcast. We have got the regular gang minus Rohit today. Welcome back Arun, Ellen, and Bob. Hi guys. Seems like a long time. Seems like a long time since we last talked, right? Like it feels like it, anyways.
I think it's because we played 2 games in the same week.
Okay.
One of them was a useless game.
Is it though? Is it useless though? I feel like we also got something out of it. I mean, every one of us predicted a loss in that game, but miraculously we won. So let's talk about the game first, I guess, before we get this pod going. So we were not, we just called it a Mickey Mouse Cup. We just said like, we don't care and all those things, but a win is a win. We got a win in the game against Leicester, and we played 5 academy kids. So what are your thoughts? What do you think of it? Like, and we also, as a gift for our victory, we are getting Liverpool to play in the next round. So that's typical Arsenal. So Arun, what do you think of the win? It was a 2-0 win.
Yeah, we won, but nothing has changed in terms of my position on this competition. I seriously still wish it doesn't happen. It's completely useless. For me, the positives, if you ask me, were the fact that we didn't concede a goal.
Mhm.
We didn't have anyone get injured. So these are the things that I always worry about when we go to competitions like this. It doesn't just mean that you can go and have players play and have them not get injured. They're definitely going to get injured. Low level oppositions definitely do not play the game the same way. The grounds are not as good. So if we were to be going, we will definitely have some injuries or some problems. That is exactly the reason why I hate this competition. So now that we won, yeah, it was good. It was good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It was good. I expected a few other players to play. The academy, like you said, was good. It was like almost made in the academy, the goals that we had. Nelson was fantastic. Saka, I'm so happy that we have this kid in our hands. We are. It's like, I think since maybe Fabregas and Wilshere, he's probably the best kid that we have had from the academy. And that speaks a lot because it's been like almost 20 years since I think Fabregas came in and joined us. So given that, yeah, the kids were really good. Saka, Eddie, Nelson, Amen was pretty good too. Willock, he needs to improve, but he was pretty good too. He had a very good game. So yeah, those were the positives. But like I said, the gift is going and playing Liverpool again. We're going to play them 2 times over the space of 1 week. So the possibility of our confidence getting demoralized, destroyed, and down to the dumps is a lot. So yeah, so probably that's, like I said, the gift for winning this game. So I wish we hadn't played, but since we played, I think we have to take care of the consequences. Yeah, so I believe though it was a good win, it doesn't amount to much. It doesn't really amount to much for me. Like, I would have been happy if the game hadn't played. It would have made no difference for me.
Okay, I think that's our second continuous episode where we have talked about a win in such low morals. Ellen, like, are you at least happy about the win? Because, like, even when we were talking about the last game, we were like, yeah, we won, but is it really a win? Like,
No,
so
like see, any win is a win. And it continues our momentum. Like say, if you take right from the Community Shield, we haven't lost any. So like the continuous winning momentum is like happening for us, and like it is continuing on. So in that way, right, that win is like really good for us. But like the very first thought which I got like after that win, right, we are going to have a podcast talking about like the Liverpool game. And the end also we're going to talk about another Liverpool game because we're going to play Liverpool twice and both at Anfield. So like it's going to be the same kind of game we are going to talk, but like it could be completely different teams. So that was one of the first thing that came into mind. And the second thing was like even though like Liverpool is a tough opposition, I was happy in one way. Because if you see Tottenham Hotspur's game, right, that got called off because the opposition team had COVID.
yeah.
And they got a walkover. Like as Arun had said in the past, like we don't know like how the testing is happening for the lower level teams because they're not that financially good. Like they might not be doing it proper. So there are chances of those kind of infections to our players in this tournament at least. So that was something like that was worrying me. In that way, right, I'm happy we got Liverpool for winning and not like any other lower teams.
Yeah, staying within the league kind
If,
of makes it easier. Yeah.
if I can just add on something there, Ellen, you brought a great point about the COVID. It's very true. The teams in the lower leagues definitely do not have the same money that teams like Arsenal or Chelsea or United have in the first league. So they're definitely not going to be as stringent with their testing. It's a huge risk for the players to go to these places. So uh, again, one more point against the cup.
Bob, so you are going to go against the cup too, or are you going to be like, yeah, it's a win,
I
so
think,
let's.
yeah, no, I predicted us to field in a weekend team. I was wrong, just like many of us were. It was a very strong and bold selection by Arteta to bring in some of the regulars. Yes, he had a lot of academy players featured in there, but it also had a strong personalities like Leno starting in for goal. Of course, I wouldn't prefer an Icelandic goalkeeper who has just joined the team like 3 days back to starting the game against Leicester. But having said that, David Luiz was actually a surprise for me in place of Saliba. I would have preferred him to make a start there. And yeah, no, I think it was pretty bold in Arteta's selection, which showed me that, one thing which Arteta is looking at the moment is, keep a strong presence of winning each game, instill that winning mentality within the team, and don't take any game lightly, as previously how we would have done under Arsene Wenger. So that was a shift in mentality that I would say. And talking about facing Liverpool twice, I feel the pressure would be on Liverpool more this time because we've got nothing to lose. There's not been any prediction for us to come out on top against Liverpool or even go better against them in terms of their league position and strengths. Arteta's game has been really, really, really focused on, those passing triangles and then, trying to get a balance in terms of the offense and defense as such. So Liverpool are going to be facing an entirely different Arsenal team, which they have faced over the years, because we all know what Wenger lacked in the later part of his years. He didn't have really good players to, support his vision and things. And eventually he was too predictable, and especially in big games, they know how to actually play against us and how to actually hurt us. We would still keep playing an attacking play against the teams and leave ourselves open. With the quality of players that we had, we were literally punished, 5-0 and all those sort of things against Liverpool in the past. So this time it probably would be different because we don't have anything to lose from our side. And as well, the fact is, if we are able to organize players what Arteta wants us to do, then we have our game on our hands, and we could really go on to hurt Liverpool, I would even want to say. Yeah.
Actually, there was this point that I wanted to make on this. Like you actually made that. Like the thing is, like Arteta's team, even the one that played in EFL Cup, had the same kind of structure, same kind of passing lanes. Like we have all seen that video of Auba scoring the goal, where he goes like he gets the crossfield ball from Willian in the first game, and the same kind of goal he scored against Liverpool in the Shield. And we were talking about like how this is becoming kind of a same thing. When I was watching this game, the EFL game, I saw similar kind of pass. It didn't end in the goal, but I saw a similar kind of move, similar kind of pass, and the players are completely different. For example, we had Tierney and Maitland-Niles running the channels in those games, but in this game we had Saka, we had Maitland-Niles, the Kolasinac. All players are different, but the same play was happening. Whether it ended up in the goal or not, it doesn't matter, because that's the pattern of play that Arteta is trying to make. And talking about Saka, actually, Ellen kind of touched upon it. And he said like the last great player we had from the academy was like, Arun did it. Yeah, Wilshere, and before that, Fabregas. I would like Saka to be more Fabregas than Wilshere. Like it should not be a false start. Like he looks like a genuine talent. Like one of the talents that would like kind of the world would look at us and say this is a good talent that has come through us. Especially in this game, you can see him pulling the strings, just like creating the passes, making those runs and everything. But like so, like your thoughts on Saka, Bob, just to finish that off, because
Yeah, no, Saka has been excellent, I mean, right since the start of the last season, and he's been probably one of the few shining lights of the whole Emery era, if I were to sum up last season. And he has actually gone from strength to strength in terms of his attacking abilities. And he was, I mean, the club has rewarded him rightly by giving him the number 7 shirt. Although it is not as prolific as how it is in other clubs, but still it means a lot to that kid. And then it also shows how much we value him as a player and how much we want him to develop more at Arsenal. So that's definitely, that's definitely a big thing for him. It's a big step up for him, and you could see as well that it actually reflects in his confidence in the way that he actually plays out. He is more courageous to actually go up front. Now that the team has got a very clear identity in terms of how they want to be playing, and he can be assured that even if he actually surges forward for a attacking play, he can be assured at times that there are enough cover backs, or he can be covered enough that that he doesn't need to be worrying about tracking back soon. Although, I mean, he would definitely be tracking back immediately. So the gameplay supports him to be flexible, and that's what Arteta has actually turned him into.
Arun, your thoughts on Saka, because you wanted to add something to it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said we want Saka to be more like Fabregas than Wilshere. But if you notice, the reason why Wilshere became the kind of player that he did eventually, ending up being injured all the time, is because he was overplayed when he was 16. If I remember right, I think that season, his breakout season, he played almost 45 to 50 games and ended up in crutches at the end of the season. I don't think he even completed the season. So my question for all of you guys is that we've been playing Saka, Eddie, not Eddie as much, but Saka, Willock, and Nelson and all these guys. These guys have been playing like almost continuously, and Martinelli as well, which almost resulted him in missing almost a year. So are we like overplaying a young talent which is supposed to be leading us to the next phase of the club? Are we overplaying them now, which could possibly lead to something long term that is not going to be good for either the player or the club? So I believe that we are overplaying them. So what do you guys think?
Arun, personally, I think it's just a case by case scenario. Wilshere tries and do more by himself. He exerts more on the pitch than what usually players do, and that has actually been the cause of most of his injuries. during his time at Arsenal. And I think had he trained to get those things corrected early, then probably he could have avoided a lot of things as such in terms of injury. So I wouldn't really compare to the way that Wilshere's burnout was purely because of the fact that he played a lot of games in one season. I've seen other kids as well, so I can't really think of any other examples right away at the moment, but I have seen a lot of kids of similar age who's been playing regularly 40 plus games each season, and they've been unscathed. They've been able to put through the same level of performance every season. So it's definitely case by case in my opinion. So yeah, I'd be happy to accept other opinions if at all they have one.
Okay, Ellen, last
Bob,
points on Saka.
yes, like not exactly like with examples or anything, but what has happened. If you see after the project restart, right, Saka was the one who was driving a lot of things. But like you could see Arteta, right, even though Saka would have done a man of the match kind of performance the previous game, he was not playing him continuously. The fans were demanding Saka to start, but he was not playing them. Like he was aware like whether they are like overloaded or not. That is something like maybe based on various stats he has got and he's taking a decision that I'm not sure. But he's like taking efforts to make sure none of the players are getting burned out, because his way of gaming, right, like where people have to press a lot and everything, if they're going to be tired, right, it is going to have an impact on the game also. So like he's making that as a priority to make sure none of the players are overloaded. So I don't think like none of these kids are like actually overloaded now, because even if you take the Wilshere breakout season, right, he was the one like where the entire team was dependent on. See now like you have like other players, it's not like we are dependent on Saka. That time we wanted Wilshere to do everything for us. Like he was more like the Fabregas, like whatever we are saying, right? The peak Fabregas we were expecting him to be. That is where the problem was during that time. But like I have like another question, like since like before we move out of this match, right, I want to put that to like all of you. See, Arteta was working with Pep in Manchester City, and if you see right, Pep always like gave value to Carabao Cup also. He didn't see that as a Mickey Mouse Cup. Maybe it was because like he had like 2 11s and he has to satisfy all the people. But is it something like Arteta has got from Pep that like all competition needs to be taken seriously?
No,
The second question is, I'll
yeah,
have
go
two
ahead.
questions. I'll finish it. Second question is like not only us, like I see like many teams playing their stars in this tournament for a change. It not used to be in the past, but they are playing in this tournament. Is it because of a lack of preseason or like lack of timing that they are playing their injured players or their bench players so that they get some match fitness? I'm not sure, but that is a trend I'm seeing in this year's Carabao Cup compared to the previous years.
Yeah, a couple of things. I think like a couple of things kind of like you actually fit a little of answers into it. Like the one thing is like the lack of preseasons. We don't have preseasons. We don't have any time off to bid in like even your bench players, give them time to prove that they are number one or whatever. So people are using this cup as that betting in season. And the second thing is like because of COVID, you don't want to stretch too much of your squad because you don't know how it's going to end up in, and it's better to like manageable squad whom you can get tested, like who are used to get testing, who are used to this whole structure or the whole process of this COVID handling. Those people, it's better to take them on road or at home. The whole process, if they know and be better to the whole process, that's easier to continue instead of bringing in the academy kids and like going through the whole process of like the COVID thing. And if something bad happens, it's like it's not going to be manageable. So it's kind of like cautionary as well as like something that they want to try, I think. And also I also think the lack of crowds is a factor in the whole thing because there's no crowds. You could try whatever you want. It's not going to be like, oh, we wanted to attract crowds, or we crowds are coming in to see the young players or whatever. But to answer your first question, I don't think Arteta is like following Pep in the Carabao Cup being an important cup. I just think that like what Bob said, it's just a continuation of like he just wanted to keep the ball rolling. Like if you ask me, the last loss we had was with Spurs last season. that's been a long time. If that's for some of our people, like we don't even remember our last loss, because we have been keeping this momentum going, and that has created this kind of like, going into this tough run of fixtures that we have. It's better to keep that momentum going. It's better to like have a sense of continuity than to go into this like, even if we lose a couple of games, we still think like, oh, we have got a good run and then we lost a couple, so we get that leeway. But like, to actually put a stat on the game, Eddie scored a goal in the game. Like, he's our number 9, proper number 9, fox in the box, kind of like toe poking goal into it. There's a stat that's going around, like, of his last 6 goals he has scored, the distance he has traveled is 27 yards, which means like less than 5 yards for each goals. That's how much he travels, which means he's within that box all the time when he's scoring the goals. He's fox in the box, predator right there within the box. So Arun, I know you kind of like celebrated like Eddie, but yeah, your thoughts on Eddie, because he's gaining a lot of traction, especially with Lacazette. Lacazette's back to scoring because I think the competition that he feels with Eddie. So what do you think of him as a player, as someone whom we can see as a future? Or like, are you thinking like he's like an old-fashioned fox in the box who needs a kind of a Giroud-like figure, like a huge, uh, he could operate as a pair with a huge central forward?
I don't, yeah, just before you start, I'll just quickly mention just like how Bellerin had tweeted, there needs to be someone who needs to bring in a SIM card for him all the time.
That's very true. That's very true. But honestly, if you ask me about Eddie, I'm still not convinced about his quality. I know he's been scoring the goals, but outside of that, does he have the same qualities that a Lacazette can bring into the team? We say that Lacazette is not scoring goals, but he is not just a player who scores goals. For this team, for the system that we are playing to flourish, Lacazette has to do the role that he is doing right now. And Eddie, if you notice, apart from the goals that he's scoring, all his runs and all his movement, he doesn't have the strength. I find that he needs to bulk up, number one. For him to be a top quality striker and he doesn't have the wiry, lanky frame that what's the name of the Tammy Abraham? Yeah, Tammy has, or even like the strength that a Rashford has. The guy is short. He has probably a low center of gravity. He reminds me of Righty a lot. So the way in which he moves into the box, the way in which he's always there to score the goal, that is excellent. But if you ask me, I would definitely want more from my striker. The good thing for us is he's got a lot of potential. He's very young, and he somehow is keeping Lacazette on the score. So that's really good for us. But do I see Eddie leading the line next season or the season after Lacazette leaves with his current form? No. And his potential is very different. His form too, maybe like he goes here and there, but overall, as a person, does he give me confidence leading the line? No, he's not there yet. Like I said, he's young. He's got a lot of time to improve, and he's probably learning from a couple of the best strikers that we have in the league. So that should all definitely help him. If he goes on the same track, learning and maybe bulking up, doing more of the control play, I think he'll be good. But right now, he's definitely not ready. I think it'll take at least a season or two for him to like be established and be the main number 9 for us. But he's definitely, like, when you compare with all the other strikers that we've had from the academy, he's probably the bright star, and all the attention that's being poured on him is there for a good reason. It's very important that he takes all in his stride and doesn't think that his progress is stalled and he doesn't have to do anything more. So that's the most important thing for me right now. Is he ready? No, but can he be ready? Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The people, yeah. Just to add one more to Arun's point, I've read a lot of articles in terms of how some of the coaches in the academy rate some of these youngsters, and if you look at what our coaches have actually spoken about Eddie Nketiah, in general, it's all very, very, very positive. They rate him very highly. And just like what Arun mentioned, so if you look at some of the past striking options that we've had from the academy, he looks to be one of the brightest, and they definitely see him as a possibility, either to grow and flourish within this current Arsenal team, or at least even if you look at it from the transfer front, can actually fetch a very good value in terms of the transfer value. So personally, for me, I see lots of positive signs in terms of the way that Nketiah has been playing, and then the way that he has been trying to drive the team forward with all these important goals that he is scoring. And I would definitely sticking to the squad. He can be very useful in Europa games, all those things. Yeah.
Ellen, go ahead, Ellen.
Like I need to add one point here. Like AD has something like the other squad members doesn't have. Like last year he won a treble. Many people doesn't realize that, but he won a treble: the Championship, the Europa League, as well as the FA Cup.
We have a treble winner. We have a treble winner.
Yeah. And if you see in the Championship, right, like Leeds preferred Bamford always. But like Eddie Nketiah, right, was always the plan B, like where he will come and score more important goals. Like when the team was struggling to play the usual way and not able to do anything, right? Like he always comes as a plan B. I feel he plays the same role for Arsenal too, like where we are chasing a game or where we need to go like a goal and like we have to completely go. Lacazette is like, even though he brings other players in, like he is not going to do the drive. That is where say as a plan B or a backup plan, right? Like we always have Eddie Nketiah, and like he's really good at that. And that is why, like as Bob said, right, he has scored a lot of important goals because that he's like our plan B. We change our approach, like, and he scores those goals. So I think like at the moment his confidence is high, and like these goals also will actually make it good. But like I agree with both Bob and Arun on that, like whether he has like a finished product or whether he can lead the line on its own this year. Definitely not. It might take a couple more years, but like he's like an interesting prospect.
Arun, so you mentioned about Eddie, right? You wanted to talk more about him before we kind of move.
Yeah, so
move
just
forward?
one last thing about Eddie though. I know, like Bob mentioned, all of his coaches at the lower age groups and even like players, all these kids from Chelsea, I've seen like I think Gilmore amount, always speak very highly about Eddie. Like this guy always scores goals. He scored even like a hat trick for the under-21s. My concern is that he's kind of like too big a fish for a small pond, like for pond like age group football. Low at that level, he's like super good because all the kids are short, tiny, and most of them are not at the same level as he is. When the transition to like proper league level football does come, he finds himself kind of being the boy among men. In terms of his size, his running, and his movement. So it's going not his. He's got great potential, but for that to translate, I find the learning curve is going to be much steeper when it comes to the Premier League, and he plays regularly. Because, like I said, he's too good for the younger level, but not all talent at the younger level always transitions to the senior level. So this is going to be a very important phase for him, according to me. Will he be able to, give all full justice to the potential? That's what I would be interested in saying. But I see him doing it, but that would be like a big challenge for him.
When you mentioned about like him being closer to Ian Wright, right? Like, I mean, even Ian Wright considers that Eddie is closer to him. And I listened to Lee Dixon the other day on something where he mentioned how Ian Wright prefers it. Like Ian Wright always stays between the sticks, and he always wants the ball between there, and he just stays there. And what Lee Dixon usually does is he kind of like overpasses him to the right or to the left, just to make him move out of the place. And even if he goes out of the place and like scores or does something with the ball, he would come back and shout at Lee Dixon saying like, pass me the ball within the six. Like, that's where I need the ball, man. Like, and I could see Eddie doing it because he is the similar kind of player. And I'm actually more excited than all of you about Eddie because I feel that he's an out and out goal scorer. Whether we put like in a couple of years when Aubameyang is old and when Lacazette is old, I think Eddie, when we put the proper people around him, build a team around him, he would be great. But moving on from Eddie, actually, I wanted to bring before we finish off this EFL Cup thing, I want to discuss about like Pepe and Nelson. I mean, we played Pepe. It's always the price tag that is always there. Like we always think about like the 72 million price tag. He's a decent player if we don't consider the price tag. But even in the game, the first goal was actually his making. He made that kind of a dribble into the box, tried to shoot, bounced off the keeper, and then he tried to hit it again, and then bounced off the post onto their player and went in. So he kind of made that goal. And also like there were like a couple of runs that he made, but we are not still seeing the best of Pepe. Even in a EFL Cup game, we are not seeing the best of Pepe. Is that something to be concerned about, Bob? Do you think we have to be concerned about that?
Not at this point. Maybe if you are having this conversation towards the end of the season, and then his performances are similar to what it has been so far, then probably that would be a slight matter of concern. But I would not at this point, because our team is not completely set. We are just starting with this new sense of identity in our side. So it will take some time for it to really, get into action, get into motion, and then, try and do that repeatably for different oppositions, and then, take the game out from them. So I feel he's been improving. And then you could see definitely that he's been willing to press more often, which has resulted in the goal, as you mentioned. So yeah, no, I think I just see it positively at this point in time. I don't see a reason for us to panic. Forget about the price tags as such. As long as we see him performing that sort of a thing every week, the goals or the assists would just start flowing through, because I think it's a team as a natural unit that tries to go forward as an attack. And if at all we have the right tools, possibly a playmaker who could actually split the passes, and then put it to the wide forwards there, definitely it will help in getting him more involved with the goals as well as with the assists. Yeah.
Okay, so quick note on Nelson LN. Like he tried to do a lot of things. He has been always trying to do a lot of things, and most of it, like we still feel that in the final third, he doesn't have the ball. He doesn't have the eye of the pass. Like Saka, he doesn't have that extra thing to do, but he's still an exciting person. He had that like early shot on target, which hit the crossbar, I guess, and he also tried to do like a couple of runs and took a couple of shots, but kind of fizzled at the end. But quick thoughts on him.
Okay,
Do you think
like
he
if
needs to be sent out on loan?
loan will be a better option for him, definitely. Like that's what I was about to say. Like when you asked this question, see, if you take like there are some people who are like normally talented, or like it is like inbuilt kind of thing, and some people they have to work hard to achieve something. Like say if you take Tierney and Niles, Tierney I see is more gifted compared to a Niles who needs to be more hardworking. I feel the same with Reece Nelson. Like he's trying to do a lot more things. Like he should not compare himself with Saka. He has to do his own thing. Like he's trying to do a lot more things so that he wants to become a team regular, which is good. But like when he tries too many things, right, there are chances like your game will get affected for a period. And I think he's running into that kind of mode now. Like so that's why like I feel like it's better for him to go for a loan, like which is like completely a different atmosphere where he can be himself, and that can help his game to grow a lot. Now I think he's trying to fill like other people's shoes, because see if you take right wing now, like say Willian, Pepe, and then like Nelson, like his order is like going down and down, and like maybe he wants to improve that order, and like he wants to be like the regular starter, and like he's trying to do a lot more things. And when you try too much of things, right, most of the time it will not come up good. That's what is happening with Nelson, according to me, and like loan is a better option for him.
Okay, so continuing on the same front, actually, it's a continuation of the game, although we wanted to complete that. Ozil being omitted, the big O being omitted from even the EFL Cup. Um, I, I've been like reading about Ozil a lot. People have talked about Ozil a lot. There is nothing else to talk about it, but still, it's a big statement from Arteta that even on an EFL Cup team, even on a bench in an EFL Cup team, Ozil was not needed. So, Bob, I'll start with you. What do you think of this Ozil situation?
I think it's justified that Ozil didn't start the game, or even be on bench, as a matter of fact, because um, to be very honest, the boss has the last to say in terms of what he sees, right, in terms of the team's composition and the play. And if he clearly feels Ozil is not even ready to get featured on the bench, it shows that he is not putting up a performance as much as what he is doing, the talking to the papers and things, through his PR team. um so I feel he is a waste of space. And I mean, this is a very brutal and honest statement. I'm really sorry to be saying to about our team's player who was once an integral part of our team, but he's not been putting enough performances for him to merit into a starting lineup. There could have been so much things happening at the back which we are not completely aware. But at least on the looks of things, I feel Arteta is right in terms of picking others as ahead of Ozil, and they've been doing pretty well, as a matter of fact. So I don't really miss Ozil at all in the starting lineup, or not even on the bench. And if possible, if there is a possibility for him to be really sensible and then look just himself in the mirror and think what he is really doing up to, he would put in a transfer request, or possibly talk it out with the board and then settle these things amicably to move into another club where he can think of playing more regularly. That's what would be my brutal take. Yeah.
The thing is, especially with Auba signing, where Auba mentioned that he wants to form a legacy. Ozil could have had that legacy. We were like so excited for Ozil when he came into the club. We were so excited when he signed that extension when Sanchez went away. Ozil was our talisman, and he could have had a legacy if he had wanted it. And like, let's put the Emery era aside. Even like right now, when Arteta came in, he was the regular starter, and then suddenly whatever happened behind the scenes, he's nowhere to be found. Like, why is Ozil not thinking about this? Like, why is Ozil not worried about his legacy? He doesn't have a legacy in Germany. He doesn't have a legacy in Real Madrid. I mean, both those places, he's considered like a great player, but will you call him a legend of both these places? Like, will you call him a legend of Germany? Will you call him a legend of Real Madrid? I don't think so. He could have, if he would have put in the effort, he could have become a legend at Arsenal. Especially if he would have like played well after Arteta came in, he could have proved that it was Emery all along. He could have proved that like it was not up to him that he didn't play during those couple of seasons well, and he could have done something to his whole thing. And if he could have like continued that, we would have loved him more. I don't like your take on the whole Ozil thing. It's a sad thing. There is nothing else to say, but like, it's a sad thing. We have to touch on it.
And talking about Ozil, it always saddens me because he's one of my favorite players. I remember watching the Germany-England game in a bar in Chennai with all these people when him and Muller were running circles around them. So I've always liked him. He's one of my favorite players of all time. He's probably the player, the first big signing, I would say, that we signed after we moved to the Emirates. And it was a huge signing. It really saddens me, man, when you think about it. The guy, we're not talking about just another ordinary guy. We're talking about Mesut fucking Ozil, the guy who won like the German Player of the Year 7 times. Winning German Player of the Year 7 times in that country, you have so many talented players in there that it's not a mean achievement. But the very fact that this guy right now is not even being able to get into the Carabao Cup squad, let alone the team, it shows that it's not just about his footballing. It's about a lot of things that are happening in the background. It's about a lot of things that he might have said and done. Things like not taking the pay cut, things like talking about the Uyghur Muslims in China. All these things, I think, have forced kind of like the upper management to take a hard stance on him. You either like leave or you just stay here and destroy your footballing career. But when you think about it, the guy has nothing to prove anymore. He's not playing for the Germany team. So it doesn't really matter for him if he plays with like high level opposition or he doesn't play at all. There's no way he can play for another country now. And the only scope that we have is him moving to maybe Turkey. But then again, that would also result in a lot of us taking the wages. So it's really a very sad situation if you think about it. Like once in a generation player, like people keep talking about like Kai Havertz and Bruno Fernandes and all that. Man, Ozil was the OG. He was unbelievable. Like the kind of things that he did, I see only maybe KDB trying and doing that. Like I would say they both are the same level. When Ozil wants to play, he can be unbelievable. But what's going on, man? Like him and Arteta were friends. He started the games like people mentioned here. He started when Arteta came in, and then suddenly fizzed out. And he's not even like Arteta specifically said he's not in the right condition. So he's choosing players who are in the right condition. Honestly, we see training pictures of him with the under 23s, with the first team, and if he's not able to convince him even to come into the Carabao Cup squad, I believe it's not just up to his play or Arteta's decisions. I don't, Arteta's hands are tied, according to me, and I'm pretty sure that it's the upper management. I don't see him leaving the season. We're going to be having, like Bob said, a waste of space, paying 350K per week. He's going to likely stay here. He's going to finish his contract, and I really don't know. I mean, it's very sad. It's very sad. He's not going to play, but he's not going to leave either. So we've like shot ourselves in the foot really badly here.
Yeah, talking about Ozil always makes me sad too. He's one of the players that I was really, excited about. But right now, like he's one of those players who, every time I look at the team sheet and I don't see his name, kind of like saddens me. I don't know if the team needs him anymore, but I do feel that it could have. I mean, I just think about what could have been with Ozil. Ellen, your last thoughts on Ozil? I know you are like let's pay him and get him out of the club, but
Yes, that's true. Like I wanted because it's not based on Ozil's thing. Like I say that it's based on Arsenal thing because he's trying to make the club as a joke. Like I will be like this. You do whatever you can. So I
yeah,
think
but
should
but
be like
yeah, but
there's
even
not in
if
his contract
we
saying yeah.
if we terminate the contract, aren't we doing exactly the same? Like we are doing exactly like we are being the joke. Like he's like, you pay me the money to
Yes.
leave, and we will be doing that. Like, would it be better to make it like, okay, no, you are staying here. We'll pay you the money, but you're not playing. We are not budging
No,
to your
that's what
demands.
like I was thinking as an afterthought. Like it's better like we don't register him in any of these tournaments. We pay him like his salary or the thing. We say you are not good enough to be even in that 25. Let alone this 18, like the match day squad. Like you're not even like good to be in that 25. We'll make that clear. Like when we register at 25, right? We'll say that like we have registered our best 25 players on all aspects. So it could be mental aspects or it could be anything. We'll say that way and make it like is his fault that he's not even in the top 25 within Arsenal. That's what I think we should do now. Like as there is no option, but like as like Arun and Bob said, like is transfer right? Like is more personal to me because like I was in Canada at that time and like I was alone. Like and I was before like say 5 systems, like system, a laptop, iPad, a phone, and everything, and I was watching it. And just to add 2 things, like during that time, Mourinho, right? You know his gameplay. 11 players, he will ask all of them to defend. The
Yeah.
only player in his entire managerial career, like if I know, like who he didn't want to track back was Mesut Ozil, because he was valuing him that level. Like he should not defend; he should just do his attack. Like he was that good, is what he was thinking. And in that same season, right, he didn't give us Romelu Lukaku, like which was like an almost confirmed transfer at that time. Like when Ozil signed us, like he stopped the transfer. Mourinho, like from his capability. The reason being, like this was the exact statement he said: if I give him a proper striker, he will make sure Arsenal win the Premier League that year. And he didn't want to give that. That kind of a capable person was Ozil. And like as Arun said, like winning 7 times the German Player of the World is not a joke at all. And like he was, it was like more like how
19
we say
assists.
Ronaldo and Messi. Like it will be
19
Ozil
assists.
who will different. Yes.
19 assists in
He,
a season for Arsenal. That's what
yeah,
Ozil
he had
was.
like everything. Like he had everything. And like now, right, like see, let alone like a legacy of like a legend of Arsenal or anything. His entire football career itself, right? Like is it a big question mark, or it's like people not all over the world doesn't value him in the last few years. Like it has gone to that level. At least for that, right? Like he has to show something. Like see, or like worst case, like he can say like I will leave Arsenal on my own and he can go out. but he's not ready to do that also. It means like, I don't think like even like such a kind of player will be entertained in even lower level leagues in various other countries. I don't think he will have any footballing thing going forward if he doesn't take that kind of a stance.
I mean, Ozil is always a sad thing to come back to, but like, let's move on to something happier, like the transfers. We are getting information about like that Arsenal has submitted the bid for Hossein or yeah, uh, Awa, yeah, Hossein Awa. But like the thing is like we are still short of the valuation. But I want to check with Bob on the transfers about Partey, because I think he has some insights on Athletico and like whether or like whether we'll get him based on whatever Athletico is going through, or like whether it's unreasonable for us to think that we are getting Partey.
See, yes, it's true that I do follow Atletico, not as much as how I love Arsenal as a football club, but also the fact that I've got a quite lot of liking for them in terms of the Spanish team that I follow. Partey is a very, very interesting player. And if you ask me personally, whom I would choose, given a choice between Hassim Owar and Partey, I would straight away go for Partey as a choice. Because as an old saying goes in football, offense wins you matches, defense wins you titles. And one thing which we've been prolific, or Wenger had the gift of, overseeing such a team, was we've been having quite strong defenders when he came on board, and even had some very good defensive walls, like midfielders who've been holding and controlling the game over the years in Vieira, Gilberto, amongst all. So I would really say if we were to get Partey, it would mean that it would be a very strong basis for our foundation. I mean, even if he don't win anything this year, doesn't really matter to us, because we are actually laying the foundation steps for future Arsenal team to follow and then try and achieve something. So I would go for Partey, but the situation with Atletico is pretty tricky. They definitely want cash, yes, because they've got a huge loan to pay off before the start of next season. So they've got to pay off around like 170 million euros to the bank as an obligation. So for them, they definitely need a lot of funds, but will the money from Partey sales help pay off some of their loans? Not as much, because he's got a very meager 45 million or 50 million euro release clause, so which is not going to be a big transfer which they would hope for.
Bob, it's not just a meager 45 or 50, it's 45 or 50.
What also Atletico want at this point in time is they want straight cash to be paid in one installment, rather than having all these performance and then this performance related or target related bonuses which some clubs keep. A Partey is a fulcrum of their team. They don't really foresee a future without him as such, because they've been putting other players in similar positions in the transfer market, like Hector Herrera, for example. Hector Herrera came in from Porto last year, and he's not been really settled to the way that they would expect in an Atletico player. So they've definitely put him on sale, and what they see Torreira in is a replacement for Herrera, not really for Partey. So they don't really want to sell Partey, because Atletico's teams over the years have been strongly focused on defense, just like how their coach Simeone wants. So they don't really have a pressing need to sell Partey, and they feel with landing of Suarez, they have a shot at the title. And for that to happen, they need Partey in the team. So it makes it even more difficult for us to land Partey, because before Suarez came in, there was not, I mean, there still was a mixed feeling about going in for a title, or, staying within the top four race. But now with Suarez coming in, they feel that they are more closer to that title challenge now that Barcelona is almost depleted morally and then team-wise. So it is very, very hard for us to get him by lowering their asking fee. Yeah.
So basically, we'll not be getting Partey, because like the other thing I wanted to mention here is like Thiago's deal, right? Like we are talking about 20 million or so, but like I was talking to a Liverpool fan, and he said upfront is just 5 million. Everything else is like add-ons and stuff, and that's how the deals are done in this COVID market. Not just in the COVID market, I guess it's been like a thing of like the recent years. And for us to go ahead and pay 50 million completely upfront, I don't think that's gonna happen. Although I have like one more thing to add on this. Like I'll direct this question at like Arun. So if you consider,
Sorry, Vijay, just before you go to Arun, I'll just add one more point to the Thiago's deal that you
yes, please go
mentioned.
ahead. Yeah.
It's a different case between the two players, because Thiago, the only team that he would prefer having a transfer to was Liverpool. So that made Liverpool, gain the upper hand in terms of the transfers, and they could pretty much dictate the whole things. With Partey, he has not been very vocal in terms of what he wants to do. He is quite open both in terms of staying as well as for going, and he doesn't really at this point have a strong preference to say that he wants to join Arsenal amongst other clubs. So Arsenal doesn't have the bargaining chips, and Athletico very well know that, and that is why they are staying in their stance of asking 50 million for the transfer. Yep.
Okay, yeah, just continuing on with my thought there, like Arun. So, if you consider before, if we consider that Arsenal has been planning this transfer window for like from the time Arteta joined in, which is like December or something, right? If we have been planning for this transfer window from that moment, we didn't see the 20 million coming in for like Martinez. So that 20 million should actually be a bonus for us. Like our plans, our transfer plans for like say Partey or shouldn't be like shouldn't be included with that 20 million. That 20 million should have been an excess to the planning that we already had, but seems like it is not. So what's your take on like the whole transfer spendings of Arsenal? Was this planned? Like was this whole transfer like window planned, or are we just going in like, yeah, we like these players, but we don't know where we will get the money from?
It's interesting that you bring up Emmy's sale as a bonus, but the fact is that the club has been losing revenue for the last 3 years. Like we've dropped out of the Deloitte list. We've been losing a lot of match day revenue. I don't know if you guys saw the Tifo podcast. It was clearly mentioned that because of not being in the Champions League, we were losing like about 45% of people who were coming to the matches. So match day revenue, when we lose it, and for a club who run their business like what we do, apparently self-sufficient with the owners not putting any money in, which for me is really stupid. When we run a model like that, we are very much dependent on our sales and on our match day revenue and our merchandise, more than any other club. We do have like good merchandise deals now. We do have a good kit deal, and we do have a sleeve deal. That's all pretty good. But in terms of the 20 million, it's definitely not a bonus considering the owner is, Stan Kroenke. It probably is like a small pocket money sort of a thing for him, which goes into one of his back pockets. That's how I see that 20 million going, because it was like not even contingency, because the club was not doing well. Honestly, the club wasn't generating the same amount of revenue that you would ideally expect it to do, given the plan that started with the move to Emirates. Since 2016, over the last 15 years, we definitely not reached the spot where the original vision was when we started building the stadium. So any money that we get from surprise sales like this are definitely not a bonus, but probably going into like, part of money from the future that we were taking. Because Pepe's deal, if you notice last season, it's supposed to be 72 million, but we didn't pay 72 million in one shot. It was going to be like, in 5 installments. So we are trying to get deals like that, but getting deals like that right now is pretty difficult because of the pandemic market. Players who normally would be going for like 30, 40 million are now going for 20 million. And even generating the 20 million is going to be very difficult for clubs because of the lack of revenue, lack of fans. The only money that you get is TV money.
Bob, yeah, go ahead. You had a
Um,
point on this.
Yeah, no, I just had one more point to add. I think it would have been more ideal had we allowed Raul Sanaré to continue up till the end of the transfer window, because had he stayed on, we would have definitely had a better chance at convincing Partey to come to Arsenal, or any player for that matter, because what he works on. I mean, if you had actually listened to the T4 podcast, like he works on a contact-based approach, and then he's got very, very good contacts in Spain. And even for the deals that you could think never could have been possible, he would have actually made it possible with contacts that he's had over the years. So I feel it was a pretty letdown that he was actually sent out before the end of the transfer window. We could have been a bit smart and used his services to gain some of our important targets before he had left.
That's I don't know. I don't feel so strongly about Raul. I feel like we have a lot more to lose from him being there than being like gain with him being there. We could have gained a couple of players, but we would have lost a lot of like the Pepe deal. Would we have felt the same way about Pepe if we would have got him for like 30 million or something? I don't think so. But with the 72 million tag, we got him, yes, but we are always questioning him about like, oh, this is a too much money for like we are not getting the returns and stuff. Ellen, go ahead. Your thoughts on it.
Just to add one thing, you said like Athletico came on December, and like they should have definitely planned for this transfer. But don't forget, this is 2020, the COVID year. Like everything like went against the plans. Like say, as Arun rightly pointed out, like we are having like our revenue based on our match entries, like people coming to the stadium to watch the match. After COVID came in, like how many people came to the ground? Zero. And it is still down. Like so, that is how many months of matches, or like how many matches. All those revenues are gone. And I don't think even this 20 million can like make sure like those losses are covered up. Like we have already taken a lot of cost cutting measures, like firing some unwanted people or reducing the salary like last year for the team members. They've done a lot more things. So in that scenario, right, even though they might have had targets for like this transfer season, it might not still be the same. And one other thing is like they might have again, like say, as you rightly pointed out, in COVID market, everybody's price was coming down. So they might have also revisited the prices, and they might not have thought like Partey will be like needed like to be bought at his release clause, or like Oral will be like close to 60 million. They might not have thought of any of this also, because with this current pandemic situation. And that is also another reason why like they might not have been like with that money planned perfectly. But that being said, like we just heard like a bid has been submitted for Oral, which means like they are ready to spend money, and which is actually a positive thing according to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting that you said that, Ellen, because also during these times, pandemic times, people don't have money. The clubs don't have money. So even if a player is costing 20 million, 20 million is a lot for any club in this situation right now when you don't have any revenue. So like Ellen said, the very fact that we have bid for our, even though there's a 35 million bid way off their valuation, it kind of shows us that the club is ready and willing to spend the money. And they do identify this position of a creative player to be more important than someone like Partey. So, and again, Partey, 45 million for that money. I don't think we are in a situation to bid for him now. An ideal window would be getting both of them. But I think given that we have bid for our and we'll be progressing further in the bids, I see him happening. I see our happening. And we might probably get another midfielder who might not be as good as Partey, but someone who can play a similar role. Like we've discussed quite a few names, Zakaria, Devara. Maybe one of them would come in, or we might just see LN like having the season of his life and turning things around for us. So
Pyramid Pirlo. Pyramid Pirlo.
Pyramid Pirlo
What
might
about
be the game
what about
changer.
the Jorginho rumors that is happening? Like, will you be interested? Like, say, if we can sign only one, and if you are preferring or as our signing, will you be okay with Jorginho instead of a Partey?
Jorginho for me, Ellen, is someone who's going to cost us upwards of 50 million. And for upwards of 50 million, I would definitely not get him. If you're going to be doing a player swap deal, like, maybe sending Guendouzi there or even Ozil there, that would be great. But apart from that, if you're going to be paying 50 million to get this guy, no, he's not a part of my plans. We might as well go for Partey.
Yeah, for me, like I'm not really that impressed with Jorginho. Even if it's part of like a Guendouzi deal, I think like in the short term it'll be like us gaining something, but in a long term we are still gonna lose really good potential for someone who's gonna give us like a year or so. Even if he plays amazing for a year or so, I don't see him like a big part of the future or changing the way the club is going to be in the future, like how Bob was mentioning. But yeah, that's enough transfers for today. I think we'll have to move in on to the Liverpool game. Are we all in agreement that we are going to lose this game? Like, is that anyone else here thinks that, yeah, no, we are going to like win? I mean, I'm not saying that we will not give a tough fight, but I still think that like even after a tough fight, Liverpool, I mean, for God's sake, they finished like first in the league and we finished eighth. That right there is a difference.
Any updates on Tierney playing that game? Like updates about him?
I don't think so. I don't think we got any updates on his situation, but I think he's back to training. At least that's what people are talking about. But I don't think he's 100% a starter or no. But with the recent game in EFL where Kolasinac played, I don't know. I'm like confused. Maybe Kolasinac will play again, or maybe Tierney would be back. That game was like for Kolasinac to have some game time, or I don't know. But your thoughts on the game, Ellen? Yeah.
No, that's what like Tierney plays a major role. Like, but that being said, right, like we don't have any pressure on this game because the last two games we played with Liverpool, we defeated them, Community Shield and the Premier League game last year. So the pressure is on them to win. Like, see, the expectation from the neutral audience. Like, let us not take the fans. Fans always want us to win. But if you take the neutral audience, the pressure is all on Liverpool, not on Arsenal. But that being said, like Arteta will definitely try to win. And I feel if Tierney plays, like we can still win this. But if Tierney doesn't play well, we might lose it or like we might nick a draw. That's what I feel.
What's the score line that you're predicting though?
If Tierney plays, like we will win 2-1. If he doesn't play, it might be a 1-1 draw or a 1-2 win for them.
Damn, that's a bold prediction. I can see Bob shaking his head like when you said like, no, the pressure is on Liverpool. He was like, nope, not on Liverpool. Bob, go ahead.
So I feel, I mean, as I've told before, Arteta is slowly starting to make his presence felt there at the club with his identity. He's following a similar pattern as to how Guardiola has been, playing at City. But I feel this is something which has come in a bit too early for us. Our team is not settled. We are trying to fill in people for our positions as we've just discussed in our transfer section. So I feel we're not ready there yet. And possibly, even though whatever that Arteta is trying to impress, either if Liverpool plans completely goes into shambles, we might actually nick a win. If we are very, very lucky, that's just 1% chance that I would give. I would think that we would definitely try and score a goal because Liverpool defense has not been as rock solid as they were at the start of last season or the season before. So there's been gaps people have identified now. So possibly we would score a goal, but that's as far as what we could go. We might not be, I would also go on to say that we would not be as much exposed as the previous predecessors have performed in games against Liverpool, like Emery or Arsene Wenger. So we would not be so much porous in front of goal. I feel I have enough confidence to share that, at least Arteta would have the right footballing brain to at least shut the shop to teams who are actually pressing and attacking high. But the score line that I can think of, I mean, if I'm being very optimistic, if I'm being lucky, I would say we would grab a win. If I'm being optimistic, I would say we would lose 1-2. And if I'm being pragmatic, I would see us losing 1-3.
Okay, that sounds more like the thing that I've been going through, but like I don't see that optimism. My optimism ends at 1-1 draw. But I don't see us winning this game. I feel like Liverpool has so much more talent in their ranks for us to keep quiet. Like we have always been like we have like in the past visits to Anfield, we have always got like 3-0, 4-0. They're like their front three just runs the show, and they have got Thiago to add on. Arun, are you this optimistic as LN, or are you as pessimistic as me?
The only thing I'm optimistic about is that we're not going to be beaten bad. So we're not going to be thrashed like Bob said. That's my optimism. It seems to be more structure to the team. So if I were to be bold, I would say we could draw the game 1-1. But mostly it's going to end up 2-1 or 3-1 in their favor. Because Klopp is not the kind of manager who would lose 3 times consecutively to someone who just started managing in December. He's won the league. He got 99 points. He won the Champions League. So he's a high pedigree manager, and I don't see him losing 3 times in a row. So optimism is a draw, a hard-fought draw, 1-1. But I think it's definitely going to be a 2-1 or 3-1 with Pepe scoring the only consolation goal for us. Yeah, that's all. We won't be conceding like any stupid goals. I don't think we'll concede any stupid goals. We'll make them work for their goals, but they'll score.
Even with Luis in, you're like confident that we will not concede stupid goals?
Yes, because he's playing with 2 other people who probably are like as good or better than him, you know. So maybe like when he's a part of a 3-man defense, he becomes a Superman, you know. Otherwise, he's a fucking clown, but he becomes a Superman when he's a part of a 3-man defense. And that's the only reason why I say that, you know, we probably lose 2-1. If it was much worse, then we'll be ending up losing like 5-1 like what we did last season. We scored the first goal with AM and we were all celebrating, and they scored 5 bang, bang, bang. I don't see that happening again this time. Probably a 2-1 or a 3-1 last. And like I said, we'll make them earn their goals.
Okay, that's more optimism. I guess it's more pragmatism than optimism. But it's been a nice pod, guys. Thank you so much for being here today, and see you next week on the pod. Bye. And that is the end of the pod. For more Arsenal-related content, please like, subscribe, and share to the Away Gunners podcast. See you next week.